I just finished watching Outlander episode 3. And honestly, this episode packs so much into a short time that it leaves you both emotional and full of questions. Right from the beginning, the storyline around Fanny and Faith stands out in a powerful way. You can clearly see the fear in Fanny's eyes whenever the idea of going back is mentioned, and after her interaction with Cunningham's men, it's completely understandable why she feels that way. That place represents something truly traumatic for her. But the reassuring part is that Claire and Jamie are not going to let her go. At this point, they are almost certain that Fanny could be their granddaughter, and even if that turns out to be wrong, their nature is to protect and care for those in need. So it feels very clear that Fanny is not leaving them anytime soon, and she will remain under their protection as the story moves forward. At the same time, the mystery around Faith continues to grow, and it's becoming harder to ignore the possible connection to Master Raymond. There's a strong feeling that something unusual happened in the past, something that we still don't fully understand. With what we saw in this episode, it almost feels like the show is hinting that Faith's story might not be as final as we once believed. If Claire can do what she did in this episode, then it opens the door to the idea that Master Raymond could have done something similar long ago. It creates this emotional and mysterious layer that makes you question everything we thought we knew. The most shocking and emotional moment of the episode, without a doubt, is when Claire brings the baby back to life. That scene was incredibly intense, filled with desperation and hope at the same time. You could feel Claire refusing to give up, even when it seemed impossible. And when the baby finally comes back, it completely changes the understanding of her abilities. What makes it even more interesting is that she talks about this blue light within her, something powerful and almost supernatural. This isn't just about medical knowledge anymore. It feels like something much bigger. And surprisingly, she doesn't seem completely drained afterward, which raises even more questions about how far her abilities can go and what limits, if any, exist. This naturally leads to the biggest question of all. What does this mean for Jamie? His reaction during that moment was actually quite memorable, with a mix of shock and fear on his face, as if he couldn't fully process what he had just witnessed. But beyond that, there's a deeper concern building in the story. With the knowledge from the book suggesting his fate, the tension around him is growing stronger. If something does happen to him, could Claire actually bring him back? And if she can, what would it cost her? These are the kind of questions that make the story feel even more intense, because while her power seems incredible, it's also unpredictable and possibly dangerous. Looking ahead to episode 4, titled Musket, Liberty, and Sauerkraut, it's clear that the story is moving toward conflict and possibly war. The Frasers and the Mackenzies are preparing themselves, and after everything that happened with Captain Cunningham, that's not surprising at all. Jamie is not someone who would ever allow harm to come to his people without standing up and fighting back. The earlier decision to secure weapons now feels like a very important move, one that will likely play a major role in what's coming next. However, the fear surrounding Jamie's fate remains, and it adds a layer of emotional tension to everything. People don't want him to fight, but at the same time it feels inevitable. Finally, William's storyline brings a slightly different tone to the episode. He has clearly been struggling internally, dealing with his own thoughts and emotions, but this episode introduces a new dynamic with Lady Gay that feels refreshing. Their chemistry is noticeable right away, and their interaction, especially that kiss, adds a softer and more romantic element to the story. It feels like the beginning of something important for his character, and it will be interesting to see how this relationship develops in the upcoming episodes. Overall, this episode feels like a major turning point for Outlander. It combines emotional depth, mystery, and rising tension in a way that keeps you completely invested. With Claire's abilities evolving, war approaching, and relationships becoming more complex, the story is clearly building towards something much bigger, and it leaves us all wondering what will happen next.